The families of 3 teenage boys lost at sea for 50 days are celebrating after the young men were rescued by a New Zealand fishing boat. The boys set off from the Pacific island of Tokelau in October and had been presumed dead. And remarkably, apart from dehydration and exhaustion, they seem to have survived their ordeal quite well. John Stewart reports.
Stepping ashore after drifting at sea for 50 days. In early October, the 3 teenagers set off from Tokelau, 500 kilometres north of Samoa, in a 3.5-metre tinny, apparently trying to row to a neighbouring island. After being reported missing, a New Zealand Air Force search failed to find them, and they were given up as dead. Relatives had even held a prayer service. Today, the family in Sydney were overjoyed at news they'd survived.
Oh, we are so happy. Everyone are so happy. I think all the Tokelau people are so happy. What a story.
The Tokelau community in Sydney had been praying together every night for the boys to be saved. They believe God answered their prayers.
It's a miracle. We call it a miracle. So, thank you, God.
15-year-old Philo's mother never lost faith.
Doing prayers, even where he was back home in Tokelau. We do believe in God's He's going to save him. So I didn't give up hope. I was still thinking that I will see him soon.
But there were times when the father of 15-year-old Samu Perez feared the worst.
50 days it's a very long time. Did you ever get to the point where you thought you may never see him again?
Yeah. Sometimes I thought, oh, God, are they gone or what?
This was one of the last times Samu, Philo and Edward were seen before their ordeal. The 3 teenagers were taking part in a haka before a game at a local rugby tournament in early October. Not long after the game, they took the dinghy and headed out to sea. 50 days later, the 3 were finally spotted by a New Zealand fishing trawler heading east of Fiji, 1,300 kilometres from the atoll of Otafu, where they'd first set off.
One of my crew members was standing watch at the time, and he noticed something floating on the horizon. And as we drew closer, we realised it was a small craft. There were people inside this craft. There was no mainland around, so we drew up to them, and I did ask them if they needed any help, and their reply was a very ecstatic yeah.
Incredibly, the 3 teenagers survived, living on some coconuts, any rainwater they could collect, and a seagull they managed to catch.
Very dehydrated, as you could imagine, physically exhausted, but mentally strong as ox.
Their rescue may have come just in time. The boys had run out of rainwater and had begun to drink salt water, mistakenly thinking it would keep them alive. After being rescued, they were transferred to a Fijian Coast Guard boat and are being treated for dehydration and exhaustion at a hospital in Suva. Back in Sydney, the boys' relatives wanted to pass them a message.
I just want to give them a big hug. That's what I had. I'm still waiting.
And would you say no more trips on the ocean?
No more trip. And you have to be good boys, and you have to stay home and look after families, look after mummy and daddies.
After 50 days lost at sea, it's advice you'd expect them to take. John Stewart, Lateline.